Chernobyl monsters, myths, and realities. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an absolutely chilling topic, the infamous Chernobyl monsters. Now, if you've heard about Chernobyl, you probably know it as the site of one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. But what's the deal with these so-called monsters? Are they just figments of our imagination, or is there something more sinister lurking in the radioactive wasteland? Stick around as we explore the myths, the legends, and the actual stories that have emerged from this eerie place. Let's jump in. All right, let's rewind to April 26, 1986, when reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine went haywire. A catastrophic explosion released massive amounts of radiation into the atmosphere. Thousands of people had to evacuate, including residents from the nearby city of Pripyat, which had to be left behind virtually overnight. Imagine packing your life away in just a few hours. The area surrounding the plant became a ghost town. The disaster killed several people immediately, and many more suffered from long-term health issues. And if you think the damage was just temporary, think again. Decades later, the environment is still grappling with the fallout. So it's no surprise that from this chaos, a ton of myths and stories started to sprout up. Once the dust settled, the eerie atmosphere of abandoned places, combined with the horror of the disaster, kicked off a whole new genre of urban legends. People began sharing stories about strange creatures and ghostly presences lingering in the exclusion zone. Some say these legends were fueled by fear, both from those who lived through the disaster and outsiders who speculated about what might still roam the area. The blend of history and mystery added a spooky twist that made Chernobyl a hotbed for tales of the paranormal, leading to a fascination with these so-called monsters. Now, let's talk about the juicy part, the different kinds of Chernobyl monsters people claim to have seen. First up, we have the radioactive mutations. Think about it. Animals and plants exposed to high levels of radiation might not look like your garden variety. Reports have circulated about deformed animals, such as three-eyed frogs and giant wolves. Nature has a way of bouncing back, but it also can create some bizarre forms. Next, we have the spectral side of things. There are countless ghost stories from the abandoned town of Pripyat. Visitors have reported feelings of being watched and even catching glimpses of figures flitting between the crumbling buildings. Local folklore paints them as spirits of the lost lives from the disaster, linking the chilling atmosphere to the tragic history. Lastly, let's not forget human encounters. Some adventurers and investigators who roam these eerie places swear they've spotted strange figures lurking in the shadows. These stories really add an extra layer of tension that keeps people talking. So, what's the science behind all this? Radiation does cause mutations. It's not just a plot for a horror movie. But don't get too carried away imagining crazed monsters. The real scientific cases show slightly less dramatic changes than the myths suggest. It's true some creatures have adapted to their environment, and a few mutations have been documented. However, most are far less thrilling than the wild tales spun by legend and imagination. So, while there's a kernel of truth to these stories, a lot of it is wrapped up in myth and fear. Chernobyl isn't just a historical point of reference. It has wormed its way into pop culture. From movies to video games, Chernobyl monsters have found a comfy home in fiction. Films like Chernobyl Diaries and acclaimed series like Chernobyl really highlight the grim realities and the chilling atmosphere of the area. Video games like Stalker even added fantastical elements, turning Chernobyl into a mysterious playground filled with mutants and supernatural horrors. These portrayals help keep the legends alive, but they also sometimes blur the lines between reality and fiction in the minds of audiences. So, what have we learned today about the infamous Chernobyl monsters? From mythical mutations to ghostly apparitions, it's easy to see why these stories have captivated our imaginations. While some elements are grounded in real science and history, many are amplified by fear and creative storytelling. As we understand more about the disaster and its repercussions, it's essential to differentiate between fact and fiction. If you enjoyed this spooky deep dive into history and lore, hit that subscribe button for more content about incredible events and their legacies. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.